Hi, everybody. My name's Hina, and I'm coming from the Master Sha Dao Center, not physically, but virtually. So I hope everyone's doing really well today. And me and a couple of my guests here, we wanted to do a really short Facebook Live show for you just to kind of introduce people to our Open Spiritual Channels workshop that's coming up on August 13th till the 17th. And the main reason we wanted to do another little updated show was because Early Bird is ending today, July 16th. So the link to join will be in the comment section. But for those who aren't exactly sure what Open Spiritual Channels are, or what the Master Sha Dao Center in London, what our workshops encompass, what we do, and how we do it, we have a couple of guests that are going to explain their experience and kind of explain their journeys and why they're here, why they're excited about this coming workshop, and what you can actually be excited about and join us. So, the first guest I have is Ela Kagram. She has been a student of Master Sha's, and now she's an official master teacher of Dao Academy for 3 years now, a student longer. And she's definitely an interesting person to speak to when it comes to open spiritual channels. So, welcome, Ela.
Thank you, Hina. Thank you. So honored to be here with you all.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a joy to speak to you, especially listening to your journey about your spiritual channels, because I know for you, you were one of the rare people who were born with open spiritual channels, and actually it stayed open throughout your life, isn't it?
Yeah,
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
yeah, sure. So, as a very young child, my spiritual channels were very wide open. I mean, I can remember things back when I was 6 months and 1 year, and the memory was always so strong. And my husband always says to me, he says, "What? How do you remember everything?" I says, "I don't. I just had to see it all." And so I did have very open spiritual channels. And when I went into school, I had a beautiful saint, Jesus, with me all the time. And, I was one of these children who didn't need other children to play with. I was just happy to have Jesus playing with me. I had Jesus with me all the time. And so he was communicating with me. He was showing me things, in the playground where they were like, as children, you go and see nature. You say, look at this snail, watch
Mhm.
the snail. What do you learn about the snail? These are the things that he was saying to me. And he says, look at that tree. That tree has fresh berries. Don't eat it. You can eat them. Those don't. You can't eat them. And these are the things that it. So I used to have, I used to be looked at as if I was intellectual, but I was an intellectual. Jesus was giving me all this information. And it wasn't until a time where I drew a picture. So I have a very strong artistic flair, and I drew a picture, and I drew a picture of Jesus. And the teacher at school, she asked me, she goes, "Oh, is that a picture of your daddy?" I said, "No." I said, "My daddy doesn't look like that." I said, "That's Jesus." She says, "And how do you know this is Jesus?" She said, "Because he's standing right next to you." And that got me into a lot of trouble. So, she called my parents and she says, I think your child is having imaginary friends and stuff like this. And, my mum and dad are very cool because my mum has very open spiritual channels. So they really didn't pull me up on it or anything like that, but it did at school and it did with people. And because I was not allowed to be in that flare of being able to have so much communication and stuff, gradually over the years, I wouldn't say my channels closed, I would say they dimmed. So then I wouldn't see Jesus every day, and then that used to cause me suffering. So it caused me suffering because why all of a sudden he's gone? Why is he gone? And I think that's the key thing here. We suffer because we don't have the connection with the soul world, with the heavenly realm. We suffer. And that's what happened to me. I started to suffer inside, but I didn't understand. I didn't even know there was such a thing as open spiritual channels, but this was normal. That everybody has this, everyone's going to talk to. Then I found out that that's not the case. So, that's that's a little bit about my childhood and my past and stuff.
You know
But
what? That's no,
yeah,
I was just gonna say that's so sweet and innocent because it's true. When kids are born, they don't know what's normal and what isn't. So yes, I can see why. I think many people who actually have their channels quite open, when they're told, "Look, this is not real. You're imagining. This is, they're not really there." Then I think, yeah, a lot of kids who are born with open channels tend to close. But with yours just luckily yours didn't close. It just kind of, you said, dimmed a bit.
yeah. You know what happened to me, and I remember this very, very clearly. So they kind of diverted. So because I wasn't able to express, the way things were, because there was a lot of things that Jesus was guiding me. Like, for example, as a young child, most children play, right? They have dolls and this, and of course I had my share of dolls and things. But he used to say to me, "Go with your grandmother, go and listen to this sermon." So I used to go, like, I don't know any other 6-year-old who would be so happy, eager to go with the grandmother to go and listen to spiritual sermons. But what happened to me after that period of my life is my channels diverted. So I became a very good story writer. Oh my goodness, I won so many, I won so many awards at school for story writing, for flair and imagination, but it was real. I was seeing it. There was nothing that was like, okay, I've been creative about it. I was seeing what I was seeing, I was writing. And so I won a lot of awards, I won a lot of prestigious trophies, and I was taken to some, high level competitions for my flair of writing creative stories. And so I realize this now. I realize this now that my spiritual channels didn't close, they just diverted. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people. Mine diverted in writing stories and, creative outer space stories. I they were really fascinating. When I read some of them now, I'm like, wow,
Oh,
So,
that sounds amazing. And what would you say is the main reason that, because I know you delved in different types of healing practices, energy healing, Reiki hands. What was your defining point that you knew that you found what you were looking for with Master Sha and his techniques?
so thank you for that question, because that's such an important question for all of us. We have a turning point in all of our lives. So for myself, I've been a healer for almost 25 years now. I've done many, many modalities of healing. And yes, when you are serving, your channels are opening up, because it then goes into intuition, right? So you have a deep, so my sense of intuition, my sense of direct knowing is very strong. I just know. So it got me in trouble as well, because I know when someone's lying, right? And I know when someone's not telling a truth. And so I didn't know how to have a loving take on that. I used to go, that's not true. Because, I was shown the truth, and I was shown stuff like that. And so what happened to me was, yes, I did use it, and it came through in intuition and direct knowing through my healing journey. But I remember when I first met Master Francisco. Master Francisco was my first teacher, and he was the teacher who was in the UK. And he saw me before I could even acknowledge or see myself, you know. And he told me at that time, and he said, "Open your spiritual channels. You can do it." And I, what does it mean? Open your spiritual channels. What does that even mean? And then when I started to go into the teachings and the wisdom, my first program was Tao Hands. Everything for me changed. My exhaustion levels changed. All of that changed. And what I noticed was that I was starting to get the seeing again. This was straight after Tao Hands. And then I think a month later, there was an Open Spiritual Channels workshop, and I went there. And I remember I cried so much. It was a very emotional time, Master Francisco said, and, who would like to share? My hand shot up. I don't even know why my hand shot up, and my hand shot up. And I said, I will share. And I went up, and I shared something about someone who was a musician, and I said that you need to do this, this, and this. And I couldn't have known this information. I couldn't have known this information. And so I just poured it out from my mouth. I opened my mouth and I let heaven, I think, speak through me. And Master Francisco said, very good. And then I realized from that workshop, I felt a deeper sense of belonging. I felt a deeper sense of belonging. From that moment onwards, I never missed a single Open Spiritual Channels class ever. And I even went as far as Belgium to go and do it. I went to Toronto. I went anywhere that they were doing it, I went because I wanted to bring that joy of my childhood back. And I saw, and then, in Belgium, I think it was 2015 or I can't remember when, I got a very special blessing. And Master Francisco did the flow, and he says, Jesus would like to give you a message. And he says, Jesus is with you. And, I won't go on too much about what that treasure is, very special treasure. And he says, Jesus is with you now, and he's happy to be with you. And he said, when you were a child, because when I was nearly 1 year old, I nearly died. So I've had about 6, 7 near-death experiences in my life. And I remember when I was 1 year old, when I really nearly lost my life, I was unconscious. My mom and dad were praying. My mother prayed to the Divine Goddess Mother, to please save my child. And I remember I have the images. I saw the Divine Mother with me, and I saw another being, you know, and he could not have known this. He could never have known this. And so he said it. And, and I'm Asian, from our culture, it's okay to bow down on the floor. And I just went straight on the floor in front of 1,000 people because I realized what he's just given me is confirmation back from Jesus that I'm still with you. So that was very special. It was a very special moment for me. And so, Jesus teaches me a lot. He teaches me a lot about love. He teaches me a lot about forgiveness. And he teaches me a lot about how to step in the truth. So sometimes the human brain and human mind may not always be easy. But when we have these tools, we have so much. And in all honesty, of course, we do guided meditation. When I was in the ashram, we always do dhyan. Dhyan is a Sanskrit word for meditation. We do that, and you get you to visualize. And of course, things are opening up for you. No one gave you a structure. This was a structure that was given to me from Master Shah's whole system. And it's so powerful. Everyone and anyone can open your spiritual channels. It's not just us. Why? Because God in heaven wants to speak to us. Yesterday I did a consultation with someone, and her husband wanted to give a message. He transitioned. It was so heart touching. After that session, I really bowed down and I gave so much gratitude because we really don't realize what a gift this is to help someone from their suffering. And so the gift of having open spiritual channels is not only to heal your suffering, but you can heal the suffering of others. And that's key because that's service. It's service beyond words. So thank you for allowing me to share all this.
Well, I mean, that's amazing. And I know you probably have so many different stories. And as we go on, I'm sure we're going to hear more and more of them. So we also have on the show Petra. So Petra, how are you? You can come on. Now Petra helps with the Tao healing hands. And Petra, now I didn't know this, but were you when you were born, they say everyone has open channels. Did yours stay open or were you one of the ones that kind of like closed and then it opened again?
Hina, and thank you for having me. So they were not always open. I think I only came to realize later on when I was actually going through the Open Spiritual Channel workshops with Master Shah and his master teachers that actually I had experience when I was actually 3 years old. And it was by just seeing angels. And I couldn't really share it with anyone because I couldn't make sense of it, at the time. But it was only when I started going through these workshops that actually this memory kind of backfired. And I was like, wow, actually I did, saw something. but it was only brief. It wasn't like very clear picture like some of psychic probably gets or spiritual people out there. It was very kind of it was like a child would have, like what Ela just described as well, something that would pop up, but I wasn't sure, can I share it with anyone or shall I keep it to myself? And that's what kids do. And it kind of, I've forgotten all about it, actually, to be honest. And then as I was actually going through all these workshops, I just started to even listen more to my direct knowing actually channel, which always been strong, but I was not always aligned, actually, to be honest, with my direct knowing channel. And what it is this feeling that I get inside if I meant to actually go for it or not in my life. So whatever choice I make in my life is actually depending on how I listen to my gut feeling. And literally that's what it is. Direct knowing is gut feeling. And I didn't know as well, up until later on in life, actually, that's what I used to have. So all these messages were always there with me throughout my childhood, adulthood and all that. But it's just no one was there to actually tell me what it meant, on a kind of, I would say, a normal conversation like we are having now. It was just always kind of hidden, from me. And plus, coming from Czech Republic, it was not it was kind of a taboo, at the time when I was growing up as well. So it wasn't very easy to find any material, any books about, what I was actually experiencing at that time. But I just knew, if I listen to my gut feeling, it will take me where I need to be. And I've used it in many different ways. Let's start with relationships, because it's all about gut feelings for us, if we are with the right partner or not. And if we don't listen to it, then obviously, we have challenges in our relationships. If we do listen to it, I'm not saying, we are perfect. Everyone has challenges in their relationship or marriages, but it's all about communication, how you communicate with the person. And I think that kind of helped me quite a lot as well, in my recent relationship. So yeah, I've just been using it literally kind of in everyday life, and it's even finding a job last year. Yeah, I had many jobs actually, and I was like, which one shall I go with? And that's another thing, it's just this kind of like inner knowing, I guess. That's how I can explain it.
Well, I mean, that sounds amazing because I know many people out there, they're always confronted with decisions. Almost every day, it's amazing the amount of decisions we have to make. And just listening to you also touches upon it's always nice to be in touch with yourself, your heart, your soul, whatever you want to say, that higher knowing that helps you make the correct decisions. And that's amazing that it helps you with relationships, it helped you with finding a job. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, those are real life instances where these make a huge difference. And so how, Petra, how would you say that you use your channels now with your everyday, like with your job now, or when you're doing Tao Healing Hands? Because I know you help coordinate all of that. How does it help you? And do you think it's made it actually easier having open channels to navigate through all these different aspects of life?
So yeah, definitely, definitely a help, because it made it stronger. So what I was feeling before, it was just like there was yes or no, but I was like indecisive. I
Mm.
think now what I notice, I'm more aligned, actually, as you said, with my soul or spirit, or whatever it is, my heart as well. And if my heart, usually I go by my heart, actually, if it's peaceful, then I know, that's the right way to go. If it's a little bit disturbed, then obviously I ask relevant questions. And it depends on what it is. It is, I usually use it in a more for bigger things, not like simple things like what I'm gonna have for lunch or anything like that. But it's more like if it's a life decision, that I need to make, it could be life changing as well for my life. But yeah, I use it regularly, and actually, I actually learned through this workshop that I actually learned to trust more, actually, that feeling. It's not only like in my head. Actually, no, go into my heart and trust that that is the right way to go forward. And then, whatever result it is, it's just meant to be in my life. That's how I always been kind of looking at my life, being positive and all that. So yeah,
Oh,
literally that's my take on that.
oh, okay. That's absolutely amazing, and these are also interesting to listen to. So thank you so much. I'm gonna
Mhm.
and I'm sorry because we're running out of time. So just one last person, and Johannes. Now, I love that Johannes actually agreed to do this, because if it's one person who I definitely know who's always checking in with his channels with what decisions to make, and especially when he's in that workflow, I really look at Johannes as inspiration. He doesn't know this, but sometimes I'm at the center because we're not there every day. So like today, so sometimes I just see him, and he, like, I can tell he's like tuning in, he's like figuring out what's the best way. Sometimes we bounce ideas off of each other, and he really is an inspiration to me because it helps me think, you know what, I need to do this more. I need the guidance, like with Petra, how she trusts her channel, she makes even bigger decisions based on this. And yeah, Johannes for me is a total inspiration. So, Johannes, were you born with open channels?
Um, I when I think about this question, I initially wanted to say no, but after listening to Petra, I think I am also understanding more how it has worked for me. So I didn't see like spiritual images or anything, but I would say also similar to her, I would have a quite good gut feeling, like especially when it came to like maybe like bigger decisions like where to move or what to do in life. I feel like blessed that this kind of direct knowing um, was very present in my life, and it wouldn't work for everything, but it I remember several occasions where like this gut feeling really helped me, where afterwards it turned out that I made a very good decision in a certain like life, a bigger life decision. um, so this is the direct knowing I feel has been, yeah, very present also from younger age for me. So that's
And
the
you know, I also find this very fascinating that more people than not have some degree of openness, yet none of us really would call ourselves open. But there's like with each of us. So, because any person who I ask to be a guest will have that similar type of realization that now what they know, if they look back, they're like, oh, you know what? Yeah, maybe I was open. And so, Johannes, now, how do you use your spiritual channels for your everyday life?
okay. Yeah, so as you said, I was never aware or like this would be called spiritual channels or what this even is. I was just like I was taking it for granted. I'm also just this is how I am, right? So you don't think about like that you could develop this, or there's like a pathway where you can learn and practice these kind of abilities. So when I saw other people like doing things like yeah, delivering a message from a light being or seeing spiritual images, I was really intrigued. I was like, wow, I have to learn how to do this. So I would yeah, sign up for like programs, and I would like start to learn how to do it because I saw this value that it can bring for my life and helping me make decisions for my life, but even also to help others around me to make the right decisions. So one of the ways I use spiritual channels nowadays, for example, is um, yeah, for example, when I need to write an email for somebody, okay, there's many ways how you could phrase something, how you could say something, but what is the best way? And your mind can know many things, but with your mind, you can never grasp everything. Like, who's going to read this email? What kind of impact will this have if I say it in that way? Even for things like graphic design or web design, there is certain like standards and like tools and ways that have proven to bring results. However, every time is different in each case, right? So, and most of the times you can never calculate all the variables in your brain. It's like impossible because you don't know what's going to happen in the future as well. So there's so many variables that soul communication and spiritual channels actually allows you to tap into a higher source of information, where you'll be able to, in daily life, to just make decisions or create results that are much more aligned, that will help and potentially help others much more. So it could be in writing an email, creating like a website design, right? So what is the best design? How should it look like? How will it have the best impact for people who will connect with it? What is the best flow and alignment on this website? And your mind can have many answers to that, but only like after months and years, you will actually find out, was it the right thing that I thought would be the right thing? So the spiritual channels can help you in these kind of decisions, and also in any kind of business decisions that are often you are kind of required to plan for the future, right? Which is uncertain though, especially these times. And that's why I feel that spiritual channels, for me personally, has huge value. And then the last thing is that by training and practicing to use your spiritual channels, you can also become certified one day, where you also be able to use your own abilities to help others to make life decision, which is also a huge blessing. So that's what I would say.
Oh, well, that sounds amazing. So, to all our viewers, as you saw by this short Facebook Live, it doesn't matter what is your profession. It doesn't matter if you are more into the professions which require spirituality, like Ela, where she does soul readings, where she's a healer, she uses energy healing modalities, or like Petra and Johannes, who have just the regular 9-to-5 job where they're doing just business type aspects. And even with me, I'm in healthcare, Western modalities. So I work a lot with the matter aspect or medications. All of us actually use our spiritual channels, and in all the different ways that are required for our everyday lives. And all of us were born with open channels, just like you were born with open channels. But until we took these courses, we didn't realize that, oh, I was using my channels, or yeah, I did have some sort of access to information that helped me make this decision. Or like Ela, with these courses, she realized that, okay, maybe her channels were open, but it keeps getting wider and wider and wider. So the access of information that she can get, or like Johannes mentioned, there's an advanced course as well. It comes from a higher place, and then you can make the right decisions. And when Johannes said, oh, it's only when you look back months or maybe years, you turn back and you realize, yes, that was the right decision, or it wasn't. But this workshop actually gives you a foot in the door to make a decision, where almost every single big decision that you make, you look back months and years later, and you will realize, because you had access to that higher information, it was the right decision. Living everyday life with open spiritual channels really does make life a lot better. So please join us August 13th to the 17th in the Master Sha Dao Center in London. There will be a link posted. Today is the last day for early bird, so please join us. And with this workshop, you actually get 2 free Dao Golden Light Balls and Liquid Spring Treasures, which, if you don't know what that is, basically they're 2 major downloads that of pure positive information that help in a way clear our channels. It's like a boost up. 3 free treasures. Oh, this is really good. So please join us. Please interact with us. There's going to be a lot of people in this workshop. It'll be interactive. We'll all be able to see each other. It'll be a lot of fun. You will learn a lot. And if you already have open channels, figure out ways and learn ways to make them bigger and wider and get more positive and more pure information where your accuracy can increase. And if you think you don't have open channels, you do. You just need to take this workshop and figure it out for yourself that, yeah, okay, that I do kind of. And then attentively work on them to make them even bigger. So I thank you so much. Once again, my name's Hina from the Master Sha Dao Center. And Ela, Johannes, Petra, and me, hopefully we will see you very, very soon. Goodbye.